President Bola Tinubu has announced the appointment of Chief Executive Officers of the National Universities Commission, the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Center, and a new partnership for Africa Development. The President also approved the renewal of the appointment of Fatima Shinkafi as the Executive Secretary of the Solid Minerals Development Fund and Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative. She was first appointed into the job by President Muhammadu Buhari and is said to be one of the driving forces of the changes in the solid mineral sector. President Tinubu appointed Professor Abdullahi Ribadu, a visiting professor at the NUC, as the organization's executive secretary, and Professor Salisu Shehu as executive secretary of the Nerdc. The president also announced Jabiru Salisu Abdullahi Sauri's appointment as the national coordinator of NEPAD. To other news now, the Nigerian Ports Authority is pursuing stronger collaboration with the private sector to grow the maritime industry. Managing Director of the NPA, Abubakar Dansuhu, gave insight to government's vision when he visited the Onne and Port Harcourt ports in Rivers State. Our correspondent Uche Okoro reports.
Nigeria is hoping to take its place amongst the big players of the maritime sector in Africa. And the agency in charge of making that dream a reality says government cannot do it alone. They are in Onne Port to meet with some key private sector companies with interests in logistics, terminal operations, fertilizer and agro-allied production. The Port Authority's mission is to convince these stakeholders to increase their investment in the industry.
Nigeria, for us to improve capacity in ports and maritime industry, we need private sector investments. And where we are is a very good example of achieving that. This place was started like 5 years ago. It was a greenfield. Now you can see how activities are taking place here. You can see there are vessels here who have bathed, and it's a multi-purpose port terminal. So that is how to grow the maritime and port industry, by getting people from private sector to invest.
The NPA says Nigeria can become the biggest shipping hub in the continent with more involvement of the private sector. But this depends on how much the government is willing to invest in technology, equipment, capacity building and policy framework.
We can only do as much as we can to make the investors feel comfortable with Nigeria, to make them feel happy, so that we can attract more. Because the more we have, the better. You know, like I said, we have to deepen our capacity and expand our facilities in a way that we can get more and more cargo in Nigeria. Thereby, after satisfying the domestic needs, we can also do transshipment. Transshipment means that the cargoes will land in Nigeria. They are not going to be opened here. Then we take them to landlord countries like Chad, like Niger, and even other countries that do not have the kind of facilities that we have.
The NPA's long-term goal is to preside over a sector that can sustain the economy even better than oil and gas if this private-public partnership works out. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has announced his intention to launch a 500-megawatt solar project through highly concentrated sun energy in the state before the end of his administration. Governor Makinde made this known while inaugurating first phase of the 11-megawatt Ibadan hybrid power in Ibadan. We have more in this report.
This 11-megawatt hybrid power plant project was flagged off by Governor Seyi Makinde in 2021 to address the issue of power and energy deficit in the state. The Pace-setter state governor is now inaugurating the first phase of the over 8 billion naira project with 5 megawatts capacity, which he said is 100% private investment. He revealed that this is a bold step towards achieving the planned 500 megawatts capacity in the state.
Now, as a state, we can look at our own power requirement and try to bridge the gap by ourselves without looking towards anyone else. And this is exactly what is the exact trajectory that we're on in Oyo State.
Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources in the state described the initiative as a reflection of Makinde's vision for energy self-sufficiency in the state.
Under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Seyi Makinde, we have driven them hard, but they have delivered phase 1. And phase 1 is evidence of our power sector reforms for increased access, availability, and quality of electricity in our state. Not only is Oyo State transitioning to gas, but a whopping 1 megawatt of solar PV has been deployed in an urban city center. This has never happened in Oyo State before.
The 5 megawatts integrated power plant, consisting of 1 megawatt solar power and 4 megawatts natural gas, will power the state secretariat, 12 healthcare facilities, a sport complex, judicial complexes, and selected schools. Oladio Yewoli, TVC News, Ibadan.